Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Everyone, I hope everyone here is always healthy. We are from group 13. You present a presentation interface between morphology and language change. Before starting the presentation this morning, it's a good idea to say Basmalah.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
So, the members of our group are Nesya, Maura, Ramadhani, and me, Rani Alviarina. The topics that we will bring are interface between morphology and language change. For the first material, it will be brought by our friends Nesya, Maura, Ramadhani. For Nesya, time and place are welcome.
Okay, thank you for moderator. There are some material. The first is the historical perspective. The second is the nature of language change. The third is historical source of morphology. The fourth, change in morphological rules, and the last is change in word structure. Okay, the first is the historical perspective. Language change is a relevant empirical domain for linguistics who wish to develop an adequate account of language system and their use. They develop their linguistic competence. In order to understand morphological change, it is first necessary to pay some attention to the nature of language change, and then to understand how morphological system can develop and how their system and the complex word they create can change. Next is the nature of language change. A language acquires a new language word through the activities of its user. It will be better to talk about language construction or innovation. What change when new word or the new meaning of word becoming established is the lexical norm of that language, isn't system behind it. And main reason for changing the lexical norm of language is that language user need expression for new concept something. One way to fulfill this need is to expand the existing meaning word. Preceding phrases have been introduced to English to express certain linguistic idea. For example, although the Dutch language has a drukker word for printer, meaning as a human agent, it uses the English word printer for printing these devices, and Germany uses drucker for human agent and printing devices. Next is historical source of morphology. In this type of noun phrase, the prenominal nouns with the genitive serves as a modifier of the head nouns. Such noun phrases are interpreted as compound nouns. The emergence of this Germanic compound structure is still reflected by the fact that sometimes the old case endings appear at the end of the first constituents. The end of this case can be real analysis, a homomorphic exception of the first constituent or a linking element. This also applies to case endings such as the genitive case ending S and N of Central Holland. Although this kind of unification did not lead to no morphological rules, there is an important lesson that we can draw from this historical fact. When a word is multimorphemic, this does not necessarily imply that it has been created by a morphological process. So that complementizer in are not the products of combining preposition with complementizer, and we can, thus meaning the regularity, the word formation process create word of lexical categories that is content word only. For example, with the word as very far, with the hitch as very high, with the length as very long, with the deep as very deep. Thank you for moderator. Back to moderator.
Thank you, Nesya. For the next material will be presented by me. Change in morphological rules. In X-sectional, morphological erosion has occurred in most Germanic and Romance language. This means that some in X-sectional rules have disappeared from the grammars of those languages. An interesting case of change in X-sectional morphology is that in X-section is an adjective in Afrikaans. Next slide, please. For instance, the adjectival nouns in E/ always select the plural ending en / with concomitant prevocalic squadellation, although S would also be in line with the prosodic constraint in Afrikaans. This morphological factor is ignored, and the plural su yx for complex noun is selected in the same way as for simplex nouns. Thus, S is selected for words ending in the su yx e. For example, we would like to know why today's English only has the third person singular S on verbs marked present tense. Example, sing versus sings, as opposite to German, which has more inflectional endings on verbs. Example, sing, sings, sing, singen. Further possible questions are at which point conversion emerged as a process of word formation in English, or what the origin of the linking element is in German compound is. Change word structure. Complex words, once they are coined, may be subject to reanalysis and reduction. In reanalysis, words receive a different structural interpretation. Example is the reinterpretation of the word hamburger. This word derived from the base noun Hamburg and denoting a specific kind of food originating from that city. Received the following structural, as you can see in the slide. Next. Complex words, once defined, can undergo change. They might get different forms through excessive systematization and characterization. Complex words may lose their semantic transparency and therefore morphological structure. This loss of structure can sometimes be inferred from the way they structure the syllabus or from phonetic reduction, which makes them phonologically more similar to simplex words. For example, an apple, which means one apple, singular in number, will become apples since we add the inflection s. It changes the meaning and now means more than one apple. The syntax has changed from the singular to the plural form concerning the number. Okay, guys, I think that's all for our presentation today. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.